I never thought I'd find a man who blows my mind, but you give me all I need to be satisfied. You came along one day, you raised me up and made me sway. You swept me off my feet, my heart stopped to beat, 'cause you made me melt away. Oh, and if my feelings start to pressure you, it's alright, I will give you time.
Hello, and in this video I'm building a Martello Tower. Now Martello Towers are small defensive forts that were built across the British Empire during the 19th century, from the time of the French Revolutionary Wars onwards. Most are coastal forts. This one is clearly built on an island, as many were, but many were built on the actual coastline of the place they were meant to be protecting. Most Martello forts stood up to 40 feet, which is 12 meters high, had 2 floors, but they could have more. Typically a garrison of 1 officer with 15 to 25 men under him. Their round structure, constructed of solid masonry, allowed them to resist cannon fire, while their height made them an ideal platform for heavy artillery pieces to be mounted on the flat roof. Most of the Martello towers either had 1 to 3 artillery pieces mounted on the roof to cover a 360-degree arc of fire. A few Martello towers had other extra defences such as batteries and moats. This one is, like I say, on an island, so the sea is an extra fortification. So getting into the idea behind this, I was watching Pug Gaming's live stream where he was building a Martello Tower style build. I'm not sure if it's 100% a Martello Tower. It was a former defensive fort which has been turned into a hotel. And the fort is called Spitbank Fort, and I believe it's been turned into a luxury hotel. And he was live streaming this a couple days ago, probably half a week ago, and it just got me in the mood to sort of build a Martello Tower style fort, and I thought I would base it off one that's near me. It's not 100% copy of the Martello Towers that are near me, just very, very similar. So I start off using the Great Wall of China walls. Now these are very nice walls. The only problem is I didn't really want I believe they're called crenellations on the top, but there was nothing really I could do. I tried to hide that with other objects, and it did work, but it didn't really fit the Martello Tower aesthetic. But you barely see them because of how I've shrunk the walls down and made them very narrow where the crenellations are, and then I cover them up with bits that jut out. I can't remember the name of them, but so as you can see, I'm trying to get the circle right. It's not a perfect circle at all in the slightest. I'm just judging it by eye basically, and then I'm using Lost Gecko's walls underneath to sort of make a different transitional base, but I kind of mess up and accidentally attach the Lost Gecko's walls to the Great Wall of China walls network, and it deleted part of the network, which which is a bit annoying because I had to go back and redo it, and that took a little while to get it lined up perfectly. So my idea behind this was to use this sort of more loose wall design as the base of the Martello Tower, like imagining that the base is more not loosely constructed per se, but it wouldn't resist cannon fire because the base wouldn't be under any siege. That's just the general idea. I'm not 100% sure on that. And I sort of also wanted a sort of curve upwards, so I wanted it not to be a perfect straight wall, but to have a sort of curve wider at the base, narrows towards the top. So I used these other Great Wall of China walls and then clip them into the build to sort of make it a more curved transition from the base. And here is the final product. I've got the loose masonry at the bottom, the more curved bit, then it gets to the straight walls at the top. It's okay. There are different build, like different masonry, but my idea behind it is this has been changed over time, this fort. It's gonna have been upgraded over time, and I imagine there would have been a fort here for hundreds of years and it would be slowly upgraded. Maybe it was destroyed, rebuilt from the base up, maybe part of it was destroyed so they rebuilt on top of that. So that's why there is a mix of different building materials such as brick, there's some rock in there on the base, maybe some granite thrown in for the actual main structure. That was the general idea. So I've placed a ton of rocks around, trying to make them look as realistic as I can, but they are very great rocks, don't get me wrong. I just would like bigger rocks. more flat rocks, more ones that are just a solid sheet instead of these like littler rocks that are all put together, because you do see that, but you also see big areas of rock that is mostly interconnected with one another, not separate looking as in these, because these look very not worn by the water, and I sort of want more ones that are worn and that flow better into the sea. I try and do that a bit with the marble rocks that sort of add a difference in colour as well to the surrounding rock formation. So I added some brick things to the top. Now I can't remember the name and I don't even know how to search them, but they jut out from the wall and allow people to shoot downwards basically, and I just couldn't remember the name of them. I also had a door to the front. Now the door is not really highly defended because this fort would not be attacked from the land. It's mainly a coastal defense fort / Martello Tower to defend against seagoing vessels. I also add a World War II style gun emplacement onto the side, which I assume this has been upgraded, and this was an add-on to sort of give the fort more defensive power. Add one on both sides so it can defend quite a large arc. I also imagine that the gun emplacements, which would have originally been cannon, which then would have been upgraded to heavy artillery, would have been able to attack ships, and also there would have been obviously anti-aircraft eventually. So here I'm creating the gun emplacements on top of the tower. I make a circle, I go place it off the map in a flat area so I get a nice flat surface to work off of, and then bring it back to the build, sink it level to this proppable pavement, tweak it a bit, then sort of create a sort of pattern on top, which I imagine maybe is where the gun would have been, like a couple concentric rings that the gun could have rotated on. That's basically the idea behind it. So that's pretty much all I've got to talk about. I just add a couple more props, a couple more later additions like a bunker on top of the Martello Tower to defend against light bombardment from either airplanes or ships. It's a fort with very, well, this is a Martello Tower that's very mishmash, very upgraded over the times to suit the needs of the time. I've also added some jetties or quays or piers off. These could have been added at a later date to allow better access to the fort, because the original design I had was there was only one pier and it probably would not be available at high tide, but all of these piers should be available at high tide for ships to dock and supply the Martello Tower with supplies. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.